Featuring one of the most unique turn-based RPG combat systems I've seen, Beastbreaker's pinball-inspired battles contain all the depth you'd expect from the genre, with thoughtfully designed mechanics and a fun-as-hell weapon system that rewards experimentation. To be blunt, it just works. So let's look into why you play as Skipper, a little mouse facing off against these giant crystalline beasts threatening to rampage through innocent villages. By carefully planning, aiming, then firing, Skipper will speed ahead like a pool ball and deal damage to anything they ricochet off of. The goal is to break this. This is a core. It represents the health of a beast's body part, allowing you to destroy claws that swipe at you, tails that block your path, and eventually the beast's vitals to properly take it down. Breaking cores and the decisions that come with doing so is what makes Beastbreaker's combat so interesting, as it pushes you to think ahead about bouncing a mouse around. Cores spill out materials for crafting new weapons when destroyed, and you must run into them to pick them up. So you're aiming to hit the core to deal damage, and pick up materials at the same time, giving you a really good reason to plan and attempt these difficult ricocheting shots. At the same time, you have a limited amount of turns before the beast runs away. Before that happens, you must break cores to reset the rampage timer to stay in the fight. I think this is one of the most fun and clever mechanics in the game because it makes every action feel meaningful with limited turns to spend, and also makes combat feel so much faster as you're taking lots of little wins that will snowball into breaking the beast. It's really at its best when the timer is low and now you're forced to think tactically about what to do with the few turns you have left. What moves do you have available? Can you take out the next core more quickly? Could you deal more damage by hitting an insane trick shot bouncing all over the place since there isn't enough time to play safe? And hitting those shots? Ooh, it's so satisfying. And this gameplay stays fresh through the weapon system. How you deal lots of damage entirely depends on what weapon you use, as every single one has a unique playstyle. So I'll give a few examples and ramble a bit about the various swords, hammers, bows, and throwing knives Skipper is able to wield. You start with a sword and shield. It's all about bouncing as much as possible, as on top of dealing damage, the basic attack generates charge to spend on more powerful moves. The constant chaotic movement from launching yourself like crazy does put you in danger of being hit, yes, but you're also extremely tanky due to certain moves giving you block, which is an extra form of health basically. And a few of those sword and shields make use of that defense as a form of offense. There's the Revenger, which is built around deliberately increasing the attack stat of the beast, then getting hit to reflect that damage right back with Retaliate. You still take the damage and you'll go down in 2 to 3 hits, so this forces you to block the damage or even find ways to heal yourself to make use of this strat. Remember, the only health that matters is 1, the rest is a resource to spend. There's also the Voltaic Blade, which is amazing at building up block, but with the rampage timer looming over your head, this amount of defense is kind of excessive. Electric Surge lets you spend block to explode for solid damage in a large radius as you ricochet around, so you have this neat playstyle of literally spending your defense to deal damage. Then there's the Hammer, which was my favorite for most of the game due to how powerful it feels. It manages to convey the weight of a huge weapon with how it takes more time and planning to get going. The basic attack generates charge by traveling as far as possible without bouncing, unlike the sword. Beasts will block your way with their size, so this can be kind of rough at first, but breaking those large body parts to clear the way really helps out here. By using the same move repeatedly, that move will gain a stack of inertia, boosting its power. So the plan is to build as much charge as possible, pick a move, then stick with it as long as possible. So looking at specific attacks, there's Big Slammer. Each stack of inertia will cause another slam, so you go from one big AoE slam to 5 slams in a single action for ridiculous damage. Due to it being 5 separate hits, it synergizes really well with certain items and buffs, which we'll cover in the next video on the more advanced stuff. The weapon system really opens up later, as eventually you're able to forge individual parts and combine them together to build your own custom weapons. Experimenting with unique builds is a huge part of what makes the game fun, and it makes getting new weapons really exciting as you think about how it might fit into the other moves you already own. Want that amazing block move from Voltaic Blade and the ability to reflect damage from the Revenger on the same weapon? You can! It's wild how much it plays with a simple concept of mouse pinball, and the ranged weapons really shake up this idea. They straight up don't have limited actions per turn. As long as you have the charge or ammo to do an attack, you can. So balancing those resources is where the bow's challenge comes from instead. Reload roll lets you move and gives ammo, ending your turn converts that ammo into charge. Most powerful attacks cost both, so this is where it gets fairly complicated. So the idea is to spend just enough charge to position Skipper right, then spend it on the powerful attacks that reward good positioning, whilst leaving enough ammo left to keep up the momentum next turn. But if the timer's low and the situation is perfect, you can always go all out. Some moves fire like a shotgun blast of arrows, so being up close is fun. There's Wind Blast, which increases in damage each time it bounces off the arena before actually hitting something, so being out in the open is probably good, or my personal favorite, Snipe Bolt, which pierces through anything. If I'm up close to several cores lined up just right, I'm going to spend all of my ammo to do this. And yeah, that sound is what makes it worth it. It is admittedly a much harder weapon to use effectively compared to the others due to how many situational attacks it has that do like status effects or plant explosives to hit later, and of course juggling ammo in charge, but I think it's really fun for that higher skill ceiling. It also has the most room for absolutely silly broken builds, but I'm not telling you how in this video. And finally, the throwing knives. All attacks are cheap to cast and available to use right away, but to perform them again, you must pick up the knife wherever it lands. This leads to a very mobile and aggressive playstyle with running into danger or trying to land in weird spots to pick up your knives again. It generates charge similarly to the sword, but as a projectile you bounce instead. It is the last weapon type discovered, so I won't go into the more unique moves it has as much, to leave it up to you to discover, but I did get a kick out of Shuriken. It throws a few in a circle around Skipper, and realistically, they aren't all going to hit something useful. Trust me, I tried to hit a sick clip, but I haven't been able to. The neat part is that you don't have to pick up all shurikens to use it again. It's more damage if you do, since it'll have a tighter spread, so I recommend picking up as much as possible in a single action, then just improvising. Having a bunch of knives to collect on the map is fun for the same reason picking up materials is. It rewards good aim and going for risky ricocheting trick shots. And ultimately, I think that's why Beastbreaker's combat is so compelling, even looking at just the basics and weapon system. There are lots of risky tactical decisions to make due to lots of little mechanics stacking up, like the rampage timer and collecting materials, leading to combat feeling meaningful and rewarding once you master its unique movement. It's a really solid foundation kept fresh through the build crafting from the weapon system that expands out at a good pace as you play, and there's so much more to the gameplay that we'll look at in the next video. There's the whole map scouting section where you have to go find the beast and learn information about it. There's companions that join your party that opens up new and I'll even showcase some really powerful strategies and the powerful item/status effects you can take advantage of. It's a strange and unique game, but I hope I've made it clear to you why it's really interesting, and I hope to see you in the next one.